remember the thoracic spine, it's that key link, right, to providing appropriate or optimal three-plane loading to the trunk in order to take advantage of the powerful hips when you're doing any kind of a swinging sport like golf or tennis or baseball. Okay. And we don't want that kyphotic slouched posture, because that will also inhibit the function of the scapula, your shoulder blades, as well as the humerus or the arms. So your arms and shoulders are not going to function well if you have this slouched posture. All right. So, and just a few other things that I want to share about the thoracic spine. Okay. It is kind of, and the Gray Institute names it this. They say the thoracic spine is the less popular but significant friend to the lumbar spine below and the cervical spine above, as well as the rest of the body. So a lot of people kind of ignore the thoracic spine, right? I mean, when you go online and you search spine pain, isn't it always about the neck or the lumbar spine? I mean, pretty much always. Very rarely will you find anything about the thoracic spine, right? So it's important that we pay attention to it. And there's a couple of other little kind of well-hidden gems or secrets about the thoracic spine that I want you to know. So you know how we've got three planes of motion. We move side to side in frontal plane, right? We move forward and back in sagittal plane, and we rotate in transverse plane. Well, the thoracic spine has an interesting ability for those three planes of motion. The frontal plane motion is pretty equal throughout from T1 to T12. But the sagittal plane motion, there's more sagittal plane motion in the lower T spine, right? And then as you progressively move up, there's less motion of sagittal plane forward and back. So you're going to feel it more in the lower T spine, which would be around the shoulder blades and lower. There's no real clear cut because it's just progressively less as you move up. And then the thoracic spine, or I'm sorry, the transverse plane motion is progressively greater as you move up. So it's fascinating that you have a little bit less forward and back motion as you go higher, but you have more rotation as you go higher, right? So this is how, when you go and do these movements and say you're lacking in some sagittal plane, right? Well, how about if we use a little more thoracic motion to see if we can restore that sagittal plane motion? That's the fascinating thing about the thoracic spine. You can improve motions by feeding it with other motions, right? And so I'll just finish with a couple of other statements here. The thoracic spine is capable of feeding either good things or bad things below in the lumbar and above in the cervical. And dysfunction in any of the three planes of motion in the thoracic spine can and will inhibit three-plane loading of the trunk, and then inhibit the three-plane loading of the hips and the pelvis, as well as the scapula, the shoulders, right, and the cervical spine. And typically, the thoracic spine will cause a breakdown outside of itself, but the evidence will be found inside itself.